Once upon a time, there was an old woman and a grown son, but her family was too poor to have the money to ask a wife for a child. Every night when she saw her son sleeping alone by the fire, she would go to the top of the floor to sit and look at the sky and cry. One night, after crying too much, she leaned her head against the wall and fell asleep without realizing it. A flash of lightning flashed. The old woman quickly opened her eyes and saw an old man with white hair and beard, wearing a blue shirt, green shoes, and a green cane, standing on top of a jackfruit tree. Terrified, the old lady was about to run into the kitchen, when she saw the old man wave his hand and say in a gentle voice, and quote, "I am a fairy. I know you are suffering from poverty and Don and number 39. Have money to ask for a wife to give you a child. So I will help you. And quote, tomorrow, tell your son to follow the direction I show you. Keep going until you reach the mountain with a white stone as big as a house. You will see 9 fairies coming down to bathe. Whichever fairy your son loves, take his wings. It and number 39. Okay for that fairy to take it home." And quote. Having finished speaking, Tian Ong disappeared. So happy, the old woman pushed open the door, went in, blew on the fire, called her child up, and told the story. Early the next morning, the son packed rice, put on a water tube, went through the forest, climbed mountains, climbed one mountain after another, and at noon he arrived at the place the fairy told him to be. A beautiful scene appeared before my eyes. The lake is blue and clear like a mirror, with a path down to the bathing station. On the shore, fragrant flowers and exotic grasses are blooming with bees and butterflies, and the rocks and stones sparkle like diamonds. Seeing the sunlight shaking, he looked up at the sky. Suddenly from the pink clouds there were 9 fairies wearing white clothes, flying and gradually descending. The poor boy immediately hid in the bushes and watched. 9 fairies stood on the jade stones, took off their wings, and waded down to bathe. The water is clear, the fairies and number 39. Skin is white, they all look as gorgeous as the rising sun. Only the 9th girl is the most beautiful and gentle. Her hair is as black and long as a stream. Her laugh is as clear as the sound of a flute. Her mouth is more beautiful than a blooming flower. Her eyes are as bright as stars. When she looks at something it glows like there are hundreds of thousands of bright rays of light. Bright. The boy immediately sneaked up and stole the 9th girl and number 39's pair of fairy wings, then returned home. The drum in the sky sounded 7 times, signaling that it was time for the ladies to return to the fairy palace. The 8 sisters went ashore, fitted their wings and flew first. As for the younger sister, she was busy playing in the cool water and came up later. Not seeing the fairy wings anymore, she panicked and frantically ran around the shore. The drums in the sky are still pounding. It and number 39's almost time to close the doors of heaven. The 9th fairy ran around the wharf again, looking intently, but could N and #39 find it? Looking at the footprints still imprinted on the fine sand, the footprints on the way down the mountain, knowing that someone had taken her wings, she hastily retied her shirt and followed the footprints forever. Late in the afternoon she came to a small stilt house, built alone at the foot of the mountain. She was wondering which way to go, when an old man came to her and greeted her, and quote, "Honey, the road is deserted, it and number 39's very dangerous for you to go alone like this. Please come to my house to eat and drink water." And quat, then rest first. And quat, looking at the old woman and number 39's gentle face, the fairy put her head on her shoulder and cried, recounting how she had lost her fairy wings and could not return to heaven. The old lady took her into the house. The boy happily came out to say hello, then went into the forest to break bamboo shoots, pull out mushrooms and bring them back to his mother to cook soup for the girl to eat. At night, he sat and played the kori, a musical instrument that resonates like the kin people, and number 39's harp, so the girl could sleep peacefully. Staying here for a month, 2 months, at first the 9th fairy missed her mother and father very much. But with the care and affection of the old lady and the gentle, diligent boy, she gradually felt relieved. In the morning she also went to the fields and forests, and in the afternoon she also went to the well to bring water with her sisters. Half a year later, the old woman and number 39's son married the fairy. The couple lived together very harmoniously and happily. The villagers compare them to a starling couple because they are both beautiful and hard-working. The husband never scolded his wife. Every afternoon when he returns from the forest, he tries to find for his mother and wife a tube of fragrant squid, a bunch of spinach, a bunch of bamboo shoots, or a basket of milk-scented young corn. 2 seasons, 3 seasons, on a full moon night, the 9th fairy gave birth to a handsome son. Since then, the house has become warmer and happier. But one day when the weather was peaceful, suddenly there was a loud, angry thunder. Dark clouds and gray clouds filled the sky. The fire was bright red, flashing fiercely. The wife had just carried her child out to stand at the top of the west floor when suddenly she saw a thunderbolt from the sky holding a hammer and jumping into the yard. With an angry face, Thien Loi said that he obeyed heaven and number 39's command and came down to force the fairy to return immediately, otherwise he would kill her child, her husband and mother-in-law as well. Loving her child and her husband so much, the fairy collapsed and sobbed, then ran into the house, pulled out 3 long bamboo tubes filled with milk, gently placed the child on the mat, cut off a handful of hair to leave for her husband, then followed Thien Loi back to heaven. Family. In the afternoon, the old woman and her husband returned home and did not see the fairy. They only saw their child sleeping next to a handful of her mother and number 39's fragrant hair. Looking at the trees tilted and scorched, knowing that something fierce was happening, he carried his child on his back, walked down the stairs and into the forest, looking at the sky and crying for 9 days and nights. The cry of sadness and anger was so painful that it choked my throat and hurt my heart. Upon hearing the news, the villagers felt so sorry for him that they invited each other to help and contribute money. Ask the blacksmith who specializes in flying iron birds to cast an iron peacock for the father and son of that unfortunate man. Having received the iron bird, father and son sat on peacock backs and soared into the sky. Through pink clouds, silver clouds, blue clouds, to the Ganges River about to reach the royal court, iron and steel cannot fly across. Strong wind, fierce, roaring waves. 5 or 7 times the peacock took off and struggled to fall. Father and son had to stay on this side of the river. One day, the wife went to the river to wash her clothes. When her little child saw his mother, he called out, "And quat, Mommy, and quat." The wife turned, the couple saw each other, but were not close to each other. They were so miserable, they covered their faces and cried. The villagers saw this and felt extremely sorry for him. They went to heaven to ask for the couple to be able to meet each other. But the heavenly court did not allow it, citing the intention of marrying the ninth fairy to a young man from a noble family. Without hesitation, the villagers continuously sent people to knock on the door, forcing heaven to take action. In the end, the Jade Emperor had to order that if the ninth lady and number 39's husband could do a few things in the future, he would marry the daughter of heaven. First, in one day, you have to pick up all the fallen sesame seeds in the field, the length of a bird and number 39's tired flight. Second, you must eat all the ripe chili peppers in a chili forest. Third, we must build a beautiful diamond house in the middle of the Ganges River. Loving children and loving wife must be accepted by the husband. The next morning, father and son got up early to pick sesame seeds, but until noon, when the sun was already in the middle of the sky, they still hadn't and #39's picked up much. Seeing that, the fairy god immediately recited a spell, called a large flock of sparrows, and flew down to pick them up for him, and soon they were all gone. But there and number 39's no way to pick them all in that forest of ripe red peppers. The husband tried to pick and eat, but his stomach was as hot as fire, his eyes were red, but he could only eat a few fruits. Seeing this, the fairy immediately chanted a spell to create a flock of crested birds that flew down to help. In a moment, the entire chili forest was left with only branches and leaves. To this day, the Harare people explain that the crested bird and number 39's red bottom is because in the past it ate chili peppers to save people. The time has come to build a diamond house in the middle of the fast-flowing Ganges River. The young man and the villagers poured a lot of wood into the river, but the wood, no matter how heavy, was swept away by the water like a leaf. It didn't and #39's work for a day, it didn't and #39's work for a month, it didn't and #39's work for a season, it didn't and #39's work for a year, and having run out of options, the young man hugged his child and sat on the riverbank, crying bitterly. The fish god immediately ordered eels, fish, carp, loach eels, crabs, turtles, snakehead fish, barbelfish. To all swim over to help. A huge eel shook vigorously, raised its head and said, "And quat, Don and number 39's worry, tomorrow you will have a beautiful house and meet your wife. Be happy, Don and number 39's cry anymore." And quat. Indeed, the next morning, when the sun just woke up, suddenly a sparkling diamond house appeared massively in the middle of the river. Waves crash all around. The house was built by fish, eels used as pillars, snakehead fish as shelves, tailfish, carp as the roof. Barbs make beams, turtles make stoves, crabs make gong hooks, eels and eels line together to form a beautiful bridge from the shore to the middle of the river. The Jade Emperor and the cruel god saw that the house was beautiful and agreed to bring a boat for the poor guy to cross the river to meet his wife. As for them, they happily carried rice, gongs, and jars to the diamond house, and they rushed to organize a celebration. But as soon as the fire was lit to cook the meat, the kitchen turtle and number 39's back got so hot that he immediately fell into the water. At the same time, eels, snakehead fish, catfish also roll along. The house collapsed, sinking all the villains into a fast-flowing river full of crocodiles and milkfish. The sky is high and the water waves are vast and white. From then on, the ninth fairy and her husband ruled the heavens, making rain fall and cool the earth. Let the sun shine down so that the grass is green and the flowers bloom in 4 seasons. From time to time, they spread their wings and flew down to bathe in the Pearl Stream and then returned to visit their old mother and relatives in their old hometown. Thank you for joining us for today's fairy tale. We hope these stories bring joy and meaning to your day. If you love our channel, please hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any exciting tales. Wishing you a good night and sweet dreams. See you in the next story.